Learning to respect the true self. The true self has a frequency, and it's this frequency which absolutely doesn't belong here. Doesn't belong to this world. It's unlike this nature of this reality. And I'm talking about unconditional love. Unconditional love doesn't belong here. It's never belonged here. It's never existed within this reality. What we must comprehend, it's very, very, very simple, is that unconditional love is essentially the particle or the infinite truth or the infinite wisdom that is essentially resonating within every single particle of existence itself. Unconditional love is essentially the point of attention within every single particle of existence itself. What does this mean? When we start to examine this reality, it's never existed. This reality has never existed. All this reality is essentially the manifestation of an imagination. When we can start to understand and examine that this sense of imagination, or this sense of, it's essentially imagination, is just an imagination within a form of imagination. Unconditional love is essentially the code out of this point of imagination. Because the world that we're living in, it's essentially designed to keep unconditional love out of its essentially, when you can look at unconditional love as essentially like a code. When we code to it, we start to free ourselves from this reality. This reality was never designed to promote unconditional love, because essentially the reality understands, or the creator of the reality understands, that what we need to do is we need to use unconditional love, harness unconditional love, but never let unconditional love connect to itself. We're essentially unconditional love. We're beings of light, love, truth. Most of us, anyway. And when we start to understand that we are beings of love, light, and truth, why are we going against our nature? This wraps back into the creators of this reality. It doesn't want this unconditional love or the true identity connecting to its, essentially connect to its true nature, which is us. Because if we do, we awaken, we start to bring a sense of positivity, love. We start to change. We start to come into our true nature. And now, to put simply, is that if you look around and you see everywhere within this reality, we see essentially the reflection of its true self. You look at anything, you can essentially see a reflection within its true self. The world which we're living in essentially is, or may be, the image of a parallel universe. What is being reflected, or actually we're perceiving as this existence, is essentially, potentially, a paradigm of existence from which isn't true to its nature. And we can go in, we don't want to go too deep, but we can go deep enough to really stir things up a bit, is that the reality which we're living in is a dream. In order to awaken from the dream, we need to connect to unconditional love. Unconditional love is our true nature. The reality which we're living in is designed to keep unconditional love out of ourselves, because once we connect to unconditional love, we will start to awaken to our true nature. We'll start to awaken to our true identity. We'll still live within the physical world, but we'll be much more intuitively connected to the greater realms of higher consciousness and higher of higher love, devotion, kindness, where we are beings of unconditional nature. Interesting.